It's something you pick up on from the time you're a little kid, and then it becomes more prevalent as you get older and go into middle school and high school.
So I guess like when I think back, I remember a lot of things that I never thought were like, I guess what would identify me of like not being binary or not being cisgender, or not being like pan. And then when I think back, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that was a thing. Oh, that was a thing. And I guess so it was like I didn't realize until college because I never thought about it. Like for me, there was no reason to think about it, I guess, until because I was always in, like for a long time I was in a relationship with someone, and it was like a very healthy relationship, and during that time is when most people are like thinking about their sexuality or like who are starting to date other people, and because I was already in a relationship, there was really no reason for me to think about my sexuality, and so after we broke up, then it was kind of like, oh well, now there are all these things and I'm attracted to all these different people and all that stuff. So that's how that happened. And then I guess after I thought more about my sexuality, I started to think more about my gender, and realized like, hey, you are like more gender fluid, and that's okay to be.
I realized my gender when I was very small, like kindergarten, and my sexuality was much later, when I was 16.
That's an incredible question. When did I first realize my sexual identity and gender identity? That's complicated. I think I knew earlier, probably by the time I was 3 or 4, something was up with my gender identity, that I was a lot more like my sisters and my mom than my 4 brothers and dad. Didn't know how to talk about it because this was years and years and years ago, and I was really young. And it wasn't probably till later in elementary school where I started having crushes on both boys and girls. And so I was probably like 11 or 12 when I started realizing I was probably not straight. And so probably, 4 years old and probably like 12 years old or 11 years old.
I think I just always knew. I had a strong sense of, or my mom kind of placed stuff in front of me and I naturally gravitated towards it.
Same. I definitely just I was always a girly girl.
Always known I was a girl. I've always kind of known I was cisgender. It's really funny because I work, I work with the LGBTQ student population on campus now, and I talk and I teach so much about, the gender binary and trans and gender non-conforming people, and I am like the most cisgender person. Half, the people who know me have met, they're like, Chrissy, you're like so binary. I'm like, but, I kind of realized that I wasn't straight in high school. Kind of that time that everyone starts experimenting and understanding sexuality. And I was like, boys are really cute, but so are girls. And, just started what a lot of people do, experimenting. And, eventually kind of came to know that about myself, and still had, still primarily dated boys, and so it never really, it's one of those things, being bi is really complicated because you never know like when to bring it up, because you can't just be like, yeah, my girlfriend, if you're dating a boy, and so it just like stays under the radar. So I ended up coming out to my mom in a huge fight about my boyfriend, and I was like, well, I like girls too, is that a problem? She was like, no, but this other thing is.
I don't think there was like a certain like moment where I was like, oh, I'm at a disadvantage. But I think that I've just like been aware of it, but there isn't like a defining moment.
I think my moment was maybe growing up and having boys think that they could do more than you or be better than you at sports in general just because you were a girl.
4th grade, when I was separated, when the entire class was separated into boys and girls, and we were taught different material based on our gender.
I mean, I guess I realized pretty early on that there were certain disadvantages to being a girl. Whether it was, hearing someone on the playground tell a boy that he threw like a girl or not to cry because that made him like a girl. It's one of those things that's like really deeply ingrained in our society that I've just kind of always grown up knowing that like there are things that, are less than because they're viewed as feminine. Knowing that, from a really early age, my mom had always taught me, like, you have to be careful in dark parking lots. You have to walk with your keys between your knuckles so that if anyone ever jumps out of the bushes, you're prepared. And, just really so deeply ingrained in our society, the binary and kind of the patriarchal assumption that men are more powerful and more important than women.
I realized that my sexuality was going to be a disadvantage about the same time that I realized what it was, because a lot of people were picking on me and making fun of me.
I remember the first time was probably like second grade. Definitely. Do I have to tell the story?
You don't have to. If you want to, you can.
Well, we were in gym class and like all of the guys got to like pick like teams first for some reason. I was like, damn, like, is that me? Like, do I get to form a team first before the other genders of this gym class? And the gym teacher was like, yeah. I'm like, oh, I feel weird about this.
I thought it was fine. I didn't really think anything of it because I don't put a lot of value on that kind of thing, but it was fine and it was comfortable and it was just baffling stuff.
In high school, my senior year, at Portland High School, we implemented a gender-neutral bathroom. It was fine. It was very standard, I thought. Just bathroom.
And I first sort of encountered like all used bathrooms when I started going to gay clubs in the late 80s, early 90s. And you go to a club and you're looking for like which bathroom to use, and it didn't matter. There were so many different types of people in bathrooms then. It was sort of like, wow, I can go in this bathroom or I can go in that bathroom, and no one seems to care. And that was pretty cool, And that was before I came out as trans, and I was just, being seen and identified as a gay person. But it really was liberating for me to like, oh wait, no one really cares that much in this space, in this specific, gay bar space.
There's a few gender-neutral bathrooms on campus. Well, I was happy to see that they changed the sign, but that's really the only main difference.
Well, the ones that I've seen on campus in person are all single-stall bathrooms, so in my opinion, it's not really gender neutral. It's just one person going to the bathroom by themselves. I guess it is gender neutral, but it could be anybody going to the bathroom, and it's not going to affect anyone else because it's just yourself. But I haven't experienced the full bathroom style that's gender neutral, so I don't really have an opinion on the topic yet. I haven't seen any pros or cons.
Yeah, I agree with Gabby. I think like the single gender neutral bathrooms, I don't think there are any cons to it. At all.
I like them.
all pros there. I also haven't experienced like multiple stall gender neutral bathrooms, and I can see like why there would be some pros and cons to people, but I just haven't experienced it, so.
Pros, definitely that there's so much freedom in people using whatever bathroom that they want. Everybody has to use, they have to all wait in line the same amount of time, which I think is cooler, because sometimes like when you're in, you just have to use the urinal and then you're out, but then you see all the other lines being really long, and I'm like, I feel so bad.
A pro would be providing a safe space where people may feel more comfortable because the bathroom is more gender neutral. However, a con would be, for example, I might not want to be in a bathroom with like a man all the time because it might make me more uncomfortable.
I think there's a big advantage to gender inclusive bathrooms, but at the same time there's a disadvantage. I think the biggest advantage is that no one feels excluded. And I think that something as, I guess, trivial and everyday, an actual need of living, as such as going to the bathroom, shouldn't be separated. Like, it doesn't really make any sense. And for that reason, it makes sense that they would just be inclusive. At the same time, though, I can see where some people might feel like a little bit awkward going into the bathroom with someone who identifies differently with them, and for that reason, it might be a disadvantage. But I think if it's a cultural norm and it becomes a cultural norm, then you kind of get rid of that feeling of it being awkward or uncomfortable.
I think that'd be really cool. I think that would make everybody feel a lot more comfortable.
I'd probably feel a little uncomfortable with a lot of going to the bathroom with a lot of dudes. It'd be different if they implemented a lot of single stalls, because that'd be cool. Everyone could just go to the bathroom by themselves and not have to worry about ever seeing anybody. But I don't think they'll do that, so yeah, I don't think I'd like it. I wouldn't be a fan.
Yeah, I think maybe just because I wouldn't be used to it, I wouldn't be comfortable with it, but I do think it'd definitely be uncomfortable at least at first.
I would feel safe and I would not feel vulnerable. I think that would be a great step for the university becoming more accepting.
I wouldn't be into it if all the bathrooms were non-gender binary.
Absolutely. I think that it is not only like just like an easy thing to do. I also think it might be a little bit more economical because then you don't have to have space for two bathrooms and you don't have to clean two bathrooms, and there's not kind of like a social or like a moral obligation to choose one thing. So I think it's definitely feasible.
Because there's so many people that have a negative opinion towards it at this moment. I know stuff that happened in North Carolina, there was a lot of outrage over the gender neutral bathrooms. So I don't think that it's something that's going to be widespread anytime soon.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have such strong opinions on it that it'd be really hard to make it happen. I think like it's more attainable to have like the single stall gender neutral bathrooms everywhere than just like replacing the segregated bathrooms.
I think that reaching a point where we only have gender neutral bathrooms in the near future, in terms of like, you know, a few years, I don't necessarily think that all bathrooms will be gender neutral, even if everybody thought it was a good idea, just because, you know, there are a lot of bathrooms out there and you're always going to have people who are going to combat you. But I think that every step that allies and people in the community make toward being inclusive to everyone, the faster that progression gets, the more that we're able to talk about the issues and have good conversations, not arguments, but have like conversations with people so that we can educate people, the quicker that those changes are going to
in the near future.
I hope so. I'm not sure about the legislative side of that, but I really hope that happens.
I think one of the things that I really emphasize and we emphasize at Equality Maine is there's no one way to be trans or gender expansive. There's no like one path, one journey. And I think trying to demystify what maybe people think they know about what it means to be trans or gender expansive is really important to us. And so it's important that we raise up the voices of a diverse community so people understand the wonderful diversity within the trans and gender expansive communities. So, you know, there isn't one answer. I think it's just recognizing that we are all individuals and we all have different needs and wants. And if we are able to listen to people, I think we can if not Maine, a more inclusive and safe place for our community.